Welcome back. All right, I haven't covered this topic in a while in a video on its own, and I feel like it's that time again because as we get further and further into the playoffs, these advertisements have become absolutely ridiculous. Now, I'm going to say this too. I know there are ads that play on this channel for some of the companies you're going to see under here. I've never endorsed those companies. I've never promoted those companies. I will never endorse or promote those companies. I get emails every single day telling me, "Hey, partner up with us. Partner up with us and we'll give you X amount of dollars. We'll do this for you. Can you hop on a phone call and we could talk about the finances?" Why is that? Why would they be interested in partnering with me? And why is it that the number one thing that I get emails about is sports betting? Well, because I run a sports channel, right? So I could get more youngsters to start gambling. Now, advertisers know how this works. A majority of my YouTube audience is about 25 years of age or younger. There are definitely people who skew older as well. I think my channel probably has more in the older category than younger at this stage. Channel's been around for about 8 years, and I've a lot of the people who were watching in 2016 still watch now, but still, they want those young eyeballs and young ears paying attention to sports gambling. And they make it sound easy, like, hey, you just put $20 down on this, you can win $200. Well, you know what? We'll give you a bonus. We'll give you a few $100s. Drug dealers do this. They give you that free sample knowing they're going to hook you. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. It really is. It's this idea of, oh, yep, put in $200. So you put in your $200. You probably lose that $200 at some point. Hey, you don't want to stop gambling. You're probably like, hey, I lost that game because they scored a goal in the last minute of the period. If they hadn't scored there, I would have got my money back. So odds are next game, and that's where they hook you. Now, I'm also not objective because twice I have been in a family that not necessarily sports gambling, but gambling in general has caused tremendous financial hardship. Absolutely tremendous financial hardship because once you are hooked and once you've decided that the number one adrenaline rush you get is from winning, and it can be winning at any gambling. It can even be as simple as just bingo. It can be going to the casino. But sports gambling has taken what you used to have to leave your house for and put it on your phone. They've put it on your TV all the time. And on the TV, they tell you, go ahead and scan this QR code and download our app and go ahead and do this and this and then hey, you're in the money, but you're not. And that's the thing. U.S. sports betting revenues last year, $11 billion, up 44.5% from the year before. And honestly, I think that's low. I think it's way more than that. I think when you look at the amount of gambling sites there are that are out there, and just the ones that we talk about here, there's more than that. There's way more money than that. Because we know that there's always been the underground industry with bookies and everything. And I mean, I don't think that's gone anywhere either. And it just gets worse, right? So the fact that the sports betting went up 44% from the year before. Now, last year when I made this video, I said these sites haven't even made a profit yet. And that's the scary thing. They're not even making a profit, and yet they're advertising constantly because they know. They see where their revenues are and where their revenues are going. And so a lot of those sites this year should be making a profit, which is probably going to make it worse, right? You're probably going to see even more of it. And the American Gaming Association reported total revenues, and this is all online game. This is gaming, everything. $66.52 billion. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money coming from gambling online. And so, yeah, a lot of that money is going to be sports gambling. But remember, if you are into gambling, if that's something that's your hook, you're probably not just doing sports gambling. You're probably playing the casinos. You're probably doing all the apps. The only one that I've used that's got any gambling in it at all was the MGM app. I used the MGM app, their casino app, because you would get points for when you stayed in Las Vegas. And by being a member of MGM, you got like a 10% discount at all the stores. I was there last summer. The discounts are gone. So there are no discounts now for shopping at their stores. The rewards, vastly limited over the last couple of years, really, really dropped. Plus, the casinos in Las Vegas They tightened the screws a little bit so that profits would drop for gamblers and they would rise for the casinos. So when I don't go to Vegas this year, because I'm on the fence and I'm actually more along the lines of I'll go to Disneyland. That's part of the reason why, because like there used to be a lot of perks when you go to Vegas. And I would play this silly little casino game, and I didn't have to put any money in it. I just want to say I didn't have to put any money in it. I just leave it running. I would build up these loyalty points, and I could use those when I was at the casino, or use them to get something while I was at the hotel. All right, cool. I got free food. I got a free meal. Oh, I got half price for a show. That's kind of gone by the wayside, and I it feels like greed a little bit, a little bit. So you go from having an app where you play it for the year and you're like, hey, I get like $200-$300 worth of free stuff when I go to Vegas because I played this app that again I put no money into, and now that's not the case. But getting back into the sports betting side of things, and obviously the first time I went to Vegas, there's a lot of sports books there, right? But again, it's locally, it's Vegas. It wasn't legal in all the states. It's getting to the point where it's legal in almost all the states, and the states that haven't made online gambling legal and the sports gambling legal, there's some heavy pressure on them to turn that around and come on, legal. Why haven't you legalized it yet? Everybody else has. And why? More money. It's all about the money. It's this market's going to make us X amount of dollars, and every state that's legalized it has basically seen the same thing. That the actual money made from the online gambling has been more than what they expected. But again, where's that money coming from? It's coming from people who are gambling, and yes, there are people who are millionaires and billionaires who do the gambling bit, but there are also a lot of people gambling who don't have the money to gamble, and now it's really, really easy for them to do it. So in February, Ontario banned celebrities and athletes promoting gambling in advertisements. There you go. Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, all of them, gone. Oh wait, what's that? Actually, no, because there was fine print in that legislation where as long as you promote gambling responsibly, it's fine. As long as there's the gambling responsibly, it's fine. So, those commercials now that you're seeing, they're like, hey, gamble responsibly, download our app. That's why. That's what that's about. That's to get around the legislation in Ontario. They would not have that in their commercial if not for the legislation. So, are they really concerned about people gambling responsibly? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that the reality is they just want to make sure the athletes and celebrities stay in the commercials, because you're going to be like, hey, Jamie Foxx, he was in that movie I liked. And he was in that show I liked, and I think he was in Living Color as well. And remember the Ray Charles? That'd be pretty good as Ray Charles. And so, you have that association. Oh, Connor McDavid, and seems like a nice guy, And so you might pay more attention to the commercial. And kids will pay more attention to the commercial when it's got Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid in it. And the gambling is there constantly because, hey, kids, here's a way to make money. You don't have to go to work. You don't have to leave your house. You can just do it from your phone. It's easy. Easy. You put in $200, you can win you put in $20, you can win $200. You put in $200, you might win $2,000. It's easy. But DraftKings has a betting limit, but only related to payouts. So if your payout exceeds $500,000, you may not get it. They may not let you make the bet either. Plus, there's limits. There's limits that a betting site can put on you. So let's just say that you're doing really, really well at the sports betting, and you're making a ton of money. They can come out and go, yeah, so we're limiting your betting power now. You can only bet like $200 max. That's it. So if you win big, your betting limit may drop. In general, and I was looking through like terms of service for various sites while I was researching for this video, they don't seem to care about how much money you might spend on gambling, but they do care about the payout. FanDuel has a limit on their winnings as well, and most of them do. And then you'll see the odd sports book here and there, which says we don't have a limit. The ones that said that are ones I didn't recognize, so I wouldn't recommend betting with them at all. Not that I'm recommending gambling at all, but when somebody goes, hey, all those guys have regulations, we don't. Go ahead. See how it goes. I don't know that I trust that message. So what we see now is we see the odds pre-game, during the game. We see it during the commercial breaks. It's constant. It's absolutely constant. It's in our face. Now, where this is different from gambling in the past for cigarettes, we used to see cigarette advertising. I'm old enough to remember cigarette advertising. But it wasn't during the game. And you didn't see people sitting there in the studio going, man, this Marlboro's really hitting the spot. And beer and various alcohols, you don't see people drinking during the game and going, man, you know what's making this game better? This Miller Lite right here. Check out the Miller Lite. Hey, do you guys drinking your here's where you can go buy some, like, the difference between the gambling and other advertisements for vices, if you consider, alcohol to be a vice. If you don't, cool. But if you consider it to be a vice, well, it's only basically advertised. You might get it in the Chiron here when it comes to alcohol, or during commercials. But it feels like alcohol commercials are not gone, but they're way less than what they used to be because sports betting's bought all the time slots. And where it really shows up is looking over just the sports betting sites. You're going to recognize almost all these. Sports Interaction. That's where the guys down in the States talking about how stupid Americans are. It's an interesting strategy. It's not going well for them. But I noticed too that when you do a Google search now, you're getting paid results. And so the ones that are paying to be at the top of the sponsored results are telling you, go download this. It's a great site. And I'm thinking, I don't trust that. But again, I was doing research for this video and noticing that a lot of the exact same sites were on the different search results. But again, they're sponsored, so they're paid search results. Bet99, Bet365, Betway, DraftKings, MGM Sportsbook or BetMGM, Tony Bet. That song is awful. It makes me want to punch things. But it gets stuck in your head, and that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to get stuck in your head. So, and it does it. FanDuel, Bet Rivers, the Score Bet, ESPN Bet, Leo Vegas, Caesar Sportsbook, and now Fanatics as well. Fanatics isn't happy with having taken over the entire landscape of everything you buy to put on your body for every sport that you might want to watch. They also want to take over gambling. So why is it that every sports organization seems to want to partner up with gambling? Why is it that they want you to be able to gamble in their arena while you're there? The closest I get to that is 50-50 draws. I do participate in the 50-50 draws for Canuck games when I go to the game. Sometimes I participate from home, but it's only $20. And I know that half of that $20 is going towards the charity that's being funded by the 50-50 draw that night. I know I'm not going to win, but if I lose $20, I lose $20. It's not a big deal. And I understand there are people who can do that with sports gambling, but there are plenty of people who can't. There are a lot of people who can't. And so what we're seeing is, and again, I'll come back to the alcohol example. If you are someone who has struggled with alcohol and you know that you can't handle it, and now you're watching sports, and every 2 seconds, alcohol's being mentioned. Every 2 seconds, you see somebody drinking. All the commercials are drinking commercials. And so again, if you have a gambling addiction, right now, sports are absolutely awful for you. They're absolutely horrible because this gambling's everywhere. The advertising is everywhere, and the fact that the revenues keep going up by ridiculous amounts from one year to the next tell you it's only going to get worse. We're now seeing the odds for face-offs, who's going to win each face-off. We're seeing odds for from one period to the next. And watching the Canadian broadcasts and the American broadcasts are worse for the betting than the Canadian broadcasts. But there's a caveat to that, because right now the sports betting sites aren't allowed anywhere in Canada other than Ontario. So all these sites are in Ontario. They're not anywhere else. As far as I know, there hasn't been any change in any of the other provinces to make that okay. But I think that's why we don't see it quite as prevalent on Canadian broadcasts. If all the provinces in Canada allowed all these sports books, sports betting, all these sites in, we would see more and more sports tie-ins with the betting sites during NHL games in Canada. And we still get that in Canada. We still get let's go to the big board. Let's go to the big... Why? I don't watch between period hockey anymore. I used to watch the in-between periods. I want to see what they talk about during the intermission. I don't watch intermissions anymore with almost any broadcast because I know it's going to be a bunch of gambling. It's going to be a lot of, in the third period, hey, get in on this now because the line says this team's good. The line says, I don't care what the line says. I want to watch a hockey game. I don't want sports gambling shoved down my throat 50 million times a game. It's not entertaining for me. I don't appreciate it. I don't enjoy it. And again, it's something that's got so prevalent that again, and I would recommend this to people if you have a chance to watch an AHL game on TV or online, do it. You won't see any of that. None of it. Because the AHL isn't on these sites. The AHL isn't of interest to these sites. I would guess that at some point in time that changes. Once they feel like they've saturated the hockey market at the NHL level, maybe they start looking at the AHL level and going, you know what, we could make some money off this as well. But from at this point, they have not done that. It is so nice to hear normal advertisements. It is I one thing I do like about watching American broadcasts during the regular season is that depending on which broadcast you're watching, you might get the best ma and pa kind of advertising. You get the used car salesman out in New York. Some of these commercials are absolutely fantastic because they're normal commercials. It doesn't feel like they're and it's weird because obviously the car salesman's trying to get you to buy a car, but it doesn't feel quite as now as the sports betting ones. Because very often with these sports advertisements, they'll shoehorn in there, and here's your odds for tonight. So they'll do like their little spiel, and then they'll put up the odds for whatever sport, whatever game they're advertising on, and it just I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it, and I'm very very surprised at how quickly professional sports pivoted from we need to stay away from gambling and that stigma attached to it to saying, you know what, all the gambling money, we want all of it. I Because what it does is it opens up the idea that, well, that hockey player doesn't look like he was trying tonight. I wonder if you put money on the other team, which doesn't make sense. I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with the idea the referees are on the take either. I don't think it's worth it to be on the take. I just don't. I don't see it being worth it. But I totally understand that, yes, because you've opened the door to this, it now means that fans may not trust the results in your league as much as they used to because the gambling's all over the place. It's everywhere. So it definitely makes it that so that for people who may already think your league is a little sketchy as it is, now it becomes more open to greater criticism and a little deeper criticism. And I just don't like I understand that back in 2020 when all the money disappeared and you didn't have fans in attendance, the NHL needed to find new revenue streams. Professional sports did in general. And I think that really opened up the door for these sports books and all this online gambling, sports gambling, to get in and start really pushing their product out to the masses because pro sports had hemorrhaged some money and they didn't want to hemorrhage any more money. And so clearly these guys pay more money for advertising than others. Again, as I'm telling you, if I partnered up with one of these sites, I'm likely going to make good money. And I'm not trying to come down on anybody else who does. If somebody else wants to partner up with somebody, oh, fine, go ahead. Great. I will not do it. I absolutely will not do it. I still have the same feeling about online gambling that I had 10 years ago, and that feeling was bad. And the same feeling I had when I was a teenager. And, again, uh, having lived with various people that have gambling addictions, it is tough to see all this advertising and know there are people out there right now with gambling addictions who will absolutely spend their rent money on gambling, who will absolutely spend their food money on gambling, who will absolutely spend their kids' tuition money on gambling because I'm going to make that back. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I'm going to make that back. I lost that bet. I lost that money. But all I need to do is scrape together a few dollars. I'll win it back. I'm due for a win. And that's where they get you. And that's the difference between that kind of advertising and drinking and even smoking. You know what you're getting. And you get your product and that's it. And yes, you may have an addiction to said product. But this just feels more insidious. It just feels a little more sleazy, for lack of a better term, and I don't like it. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And again, I know there's going to be gambling advertisements because they pay well. I know they do show on videos of mine. But if I was going to limit those, I'd have to limit a bunch of other advertisements too, because they're all in kind of the same area. And yeah, so I want people to know I do not in any level condone it. I'm not going to, and you're not going to ever see, because I've had times where when I'm doing previews, especially, people have said, "Why don't you give the odds?" Because no, you see the odds everywhere. The odds are now on the NHL's scores on itself. In fact, when you're on the NHL app, you have to actually turn the odds off. It defaults to the odds being on, and I think it's FanDuel that they're paired up with for that. Yeah, I think it's the FanDuel odds they show you. So the NHL itself, the NHL's app itself is telling you, hey, here's the odds for today's game. It's not a good look. But maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my age showing. But I think there are a lot of people right now who are in that 17 to 23 age range that are basically being told, hey, it's not a big deal. It's fine. It's it's not it's no so you put $100 on sports gambling. None of anybody else's business. I mean, yeah, you lost the money, but hey, you had fun, didn't you? It's not fun losing money. But hey, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. I just felt like it was maybe time to do a video strictly on this. I have been getting more and more irritated during the playoffs. It's not just the Scotiabank commercials either. Somebody's got a little more, and then this person has a little more, and then you want more, and then you realize maybe less is more. Who thinks that way? Who's sitting at home going, I have $10,000, but Bill's got $12,000. Screw Bill. How can I have $13,000? Who's doing that? I just, and then they play the start of a Bronski Beat song that I don't mind, but I hear the start of it now 15 million times a game. And then the other one too, and I'll throw this in at the end. I don't know who all those investment commercials are for. Well, if you put in $400,000 in your investments, who has that kind of money? Who in the world has that kind of... Anyway, I guess people who win at sports betting have that $400,000 to put into their investments and not pay fees. There's a reason you pay fees. There's a fee that I pay for my financial person for investments and everything. It's because you get that personalized help, and it does actually help your bottom line. So Questrade, I disagree with your commercials entirely. But it's a good tagline of, if you understand it, you'll save it, and if you don't, you'll pay for it. It's a good line. It's not bad. And almost every one of these has a tagline that gets stuck in your head, or a stupid song that gets stuck in your head. But hey, let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I don't know where this ends. The one question I've been asking myself is, so how much further are they going to go with the advertising? We know they love all the video game graphics they can put into the game now to distract you from the action on the ice. So how far does this advertising thing go? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, your predictions on how far this goes, or at some point in time, does the government step in, either in the US or Canada, and go, you know what, this is out of control. We need to regulate this. At what point in time does that happen, or does it not? Are we just looking at a spiral, and who knows where this is going to end? Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had thought about doing this as kind of like a funny little sketch kind of thing. Bring back in the THG BetX, but I couldn't find a way to be relaxed and joke around a little bit, because I can't at this stage. It's just become so everywhere that it's irritating. But let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.